This is Dave, the guru, and another tutorial using Gamesalad. So in this video, we're going to go ahead and get the rest of our game built out. And we're going to start by destroying these blocks up here and charting our score. But first, let's make a couple of physics adjustments just to fine-tune things. So let's go ahead and know our ball actor. And I want to go ahead and change this relative to actor. And then I'm going to change this to 1300 to get a little bit more velocity out of it. I found the velocity was a little slow, but you can go ahead and tweak in the physics. We're kind of just rushing along here. And game development takes a little bit more time and tweaks, and I'm just trying to get you started on it. So now that we've made those couple of tweaks, let's go ahead into our bricks here. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to change some stuff around. So we're going to start with a rule. So I'm going to go up to this button up here. You can make a rule. Since we use rules a lot in Gamesalad, we can use this button quickly to go up here and make a rule, or we can come down here in the behaviors and grab a rule out like this, like I did earlier. So now one of the things that we want to do is we want to have this destroy when the ball overlaps or touches it. So we're going to go ahead and make a condition that says when this condition happens, overlaps and collides with the ball, we're going to change our score. So in order to do that, we're going to be using a change attribute behavior. Now this behavior only fires once each time a condition is met. So this would have to be like switched on and off. And the reason why we use a change attribute instead of a constraint attribute is because we only want the score to get posted once when we hit this. Now if we put this natively outside when the game started, this attribute would fire and fire once. It wouldn't fire again. So that's the reason why we have rules, so we can control when these attributes fire. Now we need something to change to do our score. So we're going to go back now, and we're going to go under the Attributes tab, and we need to create a game level attribute. We're going to make it an integer because integers are whole numbers only. And we're going to call this our score. So now we've created an attribute or a variable to place that we can put our score. So let's go back to the actors palette, and we'll go into our brick, and we'll go ahead and we're going to say, go into the attribute browser. I'm going to find that attribute, game.score, and we're going to change it to, I'm going to do some simple math here. So we're going to, again, select that variable. So we're going to say whatever this total is, game.score, plus, and then we're going to add 10 to that score. So we're grabbing that attribute again, and so that will give us, if there was 100 points in there, we would say 100 plus 10. So we're saying whatever game.score currently is, add 10 to it. So now what we're going to do is we want to destroy this actor and take it off the scene after we've struck it. So now we need to make sure in Gamesalad, as I said, code fires in a linear fashion from top to bottom. And it's the same inside of rules. Now if I put this destroy behavior up here, what would happen is the actor would get destroyed and removed off the scene, and all the code that's below it would be gone, essentially, from the active game scene. So we want to make sure that we put things in order, because now this way what's going to happen is it will destroy before it ever executes the adding of the score. So we want to make sure this happens first and then this happens. And then we're going to go ahead, let's go ahead and import some sounds. So we'll go down to this sounds tab here, and then we're going to hit the plus icon, and we want to navigate to the sounds folder that we brought onto the desktop, and we're going to grab the wave files. We'll go ahead and hit that, and this is going to give us an option to bring this in as either a music file or a sound file. We want to bring this in as a sound file because it's going to give us more options to utilize it, as music files are really limited, although there are cases when you use music files. So we're going to hit apply to all because we want to import them all as sounds, and we can sample them. So there's a little hit, And we're going to go ahead and take that, and we're going to put it right in, sandwich it right in between these two. And we want it to run to completion, and we don't want it to loop. And so we've got our play sound. It automatically makes the behavior, and then you could also come in and change it here. So now when this hits and adds the score, it'll play a little sound. So now let's go ahead and back up. And now we need to see our score out here on the scene. So let's go ahead and make another actor, and we'll call this score. Then we're going to go into this actor, and we're going to come down to the physics tab, and we need to make sure we check movable off because we're using gravity, and it would just pull it down off the screen like we saw before. I'm going to hit the behaviors, and we're going to come down, and we're going to grab a display text behavior. And then we can type in anything we wanted here in text. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab the game.score attribute, and it's going to now display the total that's in that attribute. And we can pick a font. Let's grab Futura. We can, let's make this 20. We can pick a color, and we'll go ahead and pick something bright so you can see it. We'll pick a red since we don't have a red on the scene. And then we'll come back. And so we'll take this little score actor here, and we'll just put it up in this corner. And if I hit the shift key while I'm grabbing one of these corners, it'll bring it in and keep it symmetrical. So we have our little score actor there, and we can see it. And there's our little score actor. And when we hit, we can see that it's changing the score. All right. Now the other thing you can do, we can make that a little bigger. So let's come back into our score actor, and let's go ahead and increase that a little bit. Let's go to 26. And then also what we can do is we can come in here and actually get rid of this white background on our score, and it'll keep the text there. If we just come in and drag this opacity slider, if we drag it down to 0, if we come back, and we'll see it's gone, but it's not. It's still there. And then we see our score. There's our score. Okay. We're up to 20. All right. And so now we've got our score working. And now what we need to do is, now we've got our score working and we've got everything bouncing around. We got a little hit and all that. Let's go into the paddle real quick. And let's go ahead and just make a rule here real quick. And we'll say when overlaps or collides with the ball, let's go ahead and get another sound. Let's go ahead and grab that and just throw that in there and give us a little more robust sounds here. And then what we're going to do is, let's go ahead in, and we want to make this, we want to do something with this ball. When we miss it, it's got to get destroyed. And then we're going to go ahead and respawn it and drop it back down. So let's do this without like adding any kind of buttons or anything. I'll show you a quick way to do some spawning, and we'll do a different way. So one of the first things I want to do is we need to sense when the ball comes down and hits this wall down here. Now, since all these are the same actor, we can't really use this actor. So let's go ahead and just delete that actor off the scene. And let's go ahead and we'll make a new actor, and we'll call it Destroy. And we'll go ahead into it, and we'll go ahead and uncheck Movable. And we'll set the bounciness to 0 because we don't want it to bounce off of this. And we'll come back up, and we'll drag this Destroy actor down into here. And we'll set it right at the bottom there. And fill this space with it. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to go into our ball, and we're going to make a rule, and we're going to say when it overlaps and collides with Destroy, and we're going to grab the Destroy position. Now, also what we're going to need to do is we need to know when this is destroyed. We're destroying it, but we don't know when it's been destroyed and when it hasn't been destroyed. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to make another variable, and we'll just go ahead and grab this. I'm going to grab a Boolean, which is basically a true-false statement. And we're going to go ahead and say destroyed. And so this is going to know when it's destroyed or not. So we're going to go ahead into this actor down here. And we're going to go ahead and make a rule that says when actor receives event, overlaps or collides with the ball, we're going to go ahead and use a change attribute. And we're going to go ahead and say change attribute game.destroyed now to true. Lowercase. Okay. Now, by default, if we see in here, destroyed starts as false. There's only two conditions in a Boolean, true and false. So if I were to check that, it would be true. If it's off, then it's false. So now we know when this overlaps and collides with this, it's going to destroy, and we're going to change that to true so that we know now that the ball actor has been destroyed. So now what we want to do is we need to put it back on the scene. So let's go ahead and just find a good spot where we want this thing to kind of start off and fall straight down. So let's go ahead and click on it once we get our spot, and we'll go over to the position here. And let me just grab a piece of paper so I can make a note of this. And we're going to go ahead and look at the position. Now forget about the decimal places. We really don't need to worry about that. So we're going to just make a note that our X position is 380 and our Y position is 787. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back into our destroy actor, and we're going to use this as a place or storehouse for our code, which is completely perfect to do. So we're going to go ahead and make another rule, and we're going to say when attribute. So we have different functions we can do. We're going to go after that game destroyed. So we want to look and see when that's true. So we're going to say when this attribute is true, game.destroyed is true. See, true and false. We want it when it's true. We're going to tell it to go ahead, and we're going to do it. We're going to spawn an actor. We're going to spawn that ball or replace that ball now. So let's go down and find the spawn behavior. Spawn actor. Here we go. We're going to spawn the actor ball. And we're going to go ahead and check relative. We want it relative to the scene because we're going to put it in a specific place in the scene. And so this is our, as we talked about, the position X and position Y. Okay. So our position X was 380. And our position Y was 787. So let's just go, and then what we need to do after we spawn it, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and change that attribute back to false so that we can set up for another actor next time it collides. So we're going to destroy, and we're going to change that back to false since we've spawned another actor and we're set up for another destroy. So let's go ahead and we'll test this out. Let's just let it go by. And there we go. It comes back down. All right, but it happens kind of fast. So let's go ahead. We can actually add a timer in there. So let's go ahead and grab a timer. And we're going to say after 1 second, run to completion. And we'll put this little bit of code in the timer. So now what's going to happen is even when this turns true, it's going to wait for 1 second. Then it's going to go ahead and spawn the new ball. And I can see part of this peeking through. Let me just lower this down a little bit. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and just let it go by. And then 1 second, and it's going to spawn a new ball. All right, and there we go. Now we've got our game going. Okay. Still need some physics work, but There we go. All right, so we've got our game going. It's tracking score. It's spawning the ball. So now, if we only wanted to give the player 3 balls, we'd need another attribute. So let's go down and let's select another integer because we're going to deal with whole numbers. And we'll call this ball amount. And we're going to go ahead in this and we're going to actually put a value in there. So let's put 3. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into our destroy actor and we're going to say, do this until we run out of balls. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add another condition in this rule, and we're going to say when attribute game.ballAmount is greater than 0. Do this. So now let's go back into our ball actor, and we're going to add another condition into this destroy. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab a change attribute, and we're going to say each time you get destroyed, we want to take 1 away from the ball amount. So I'm going to go game.ball, and we're going to go game.ballAmount minus 1. So you see we're doing a little bit of, we're taking away now. And the reason why we do it this way is once we've written our code, we could be using this variable in a lot of different spots. And so it becomes easy when we're over here to just change this value in one area. So if we wanted to make it 4 balls, if we wanted to make it 2 balls, we could change this amount simply by going in and changing this value right here. So let's go ahead and test that out. And we'll see 1, 2, 3, and that's it. 4. This the first ball's not taking it away. All right, so I missed it by 1. So what we need to do is set this to 2, since it's not counting the ball that's already on the scene. Okay, this is where we get into troubleshooting. So now if we do it, we'll get 3 balls. So we have the first one, the second one, and the third one. And there we go. Now we've given our player 3 balls to do the game. And that's pretty much how you begin to build and develop a game in Gamesalad. Now you could take this game out, obviously, and add all kinds of features and really spice it up and do all kinds of really cool things with it, like any other type of Tetris brick breaker type of game that's out there. But the idea of this is really not so much the perfect way to build the game, as I'm really trying to teach you how to use Gamesalad and how you begin to understand how to use the game. And so a lot of you that are watching these videos are really trying to figure out whether game development's for you or not. And so, this gives you a window into a little bit of what's involved in making games, and hopefully it helps you make your decision about whether, Gamesalad is going to be the tool for you. And that even if game making is for you, there's a lot involved in it, and there's a lot of things to consider. And, a lot of people come and they love games. And but game making isn't for everybody. It's much different than playing games. So I hope this helps you, and I hope that I've been able to teach you some about Gamesalad and a little bit about game making. And on my website, I have tons of tutorials, over 100, that really start to teach you the ins and outs of game development and using the Gamesalad software. I really recommend my Gamesalad Logic series to begin with. It really helps you understand how to build the more complex logic, and it goes into all the different things about the variables and what they are and how to work with different things, and it really kind of takes you under the hood of Gamesalad and really begins to teach you how to build and design logic and code. And there are so many other helpful people on the forums. There's lots of tutorials, lots of information. It takes time to learn it all, but there's a real wealth of information in the Gamesalad community that can really help you learn at your own pace how to develop games. You can find me on the forums under the name Lost Oasis Games. This is Dave, the Guru. I'll see you in the next video.